believe it or not, there's a whole lot of individuals locked up right now behind the bars while I'm making this video just because they believe in that GD, BD thing, all that nonsense.
That's what we're fighting with right now, right? The stuff that those people are talking about are hearsay, rumors. I'm not saying that my father wasn't in leadership at one point and wasn't involved in the streets, but he's had transformation. He was a illiterate, dyslexic child when he went to jail. He taught himself how to read. He taught
Here we go. Here we go. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. Don't forget to hit like and the subscribe button. Tell a friend, tell a friend. Here we have another crazy story. Another crazy story. I had no idea. I had no idea that Larry Hoover was illiterate. I was listening to his son saying that my father he was illiterate. He was a baby, 22 years old, when he picked up his charge. 23 years old when he went away. And I said I had no idea that Larry Hoover was illiterate at the time of his incarceration. Makes a whole lot of sense now, because I was always wondering, why would certain individuals make the type of decisions that they make? And it makes a whole lot of sense now, because Larry Hoover was illiterate. I'm not saying he was illiterate, but when I heard his son say it, I said, wow, makes sense now, because I knew that most of these gang members they wasn't smart, they was very dumb, meaning they wasn't smart at all. So it makes sense now, because most of these gang members, they do things and you say to yourself, wow, why would you do something like that? Makes sense. Are they illiterate just like Larry Hoover? There's a good chance. Imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine there's nothing but illiterate individuals stuck in that county jail right now, stuck in the ADX right now. But how illiterate could they be? Because they said Larry Hoover, he ran a whole organization. He was like a leader. I mean, how illiterate could he be? Or is that just one of those scapegoat? You know what I mean? Yes, just throw him a bone. Say he was illiterate. Say, you know what? He was uneducated. He didn't know how to read. He didn't know how to write. He didn't know how to do backflips or front flips. I mean, is that what it is? I don't know. But how illiterate could Larry Hoover have been to lead a gang enterprise with over 30,000 individuals? Imagine that. That's like an army. So was Larry Hoover really illiterate? Don't forget, he was doing things state to state. Almost half of the country in a sense. At least 30%. I mean, not 30%, at least 40%. Imagine that. But his son is saying he was illiterate. He's a young, illiterate child. Maybe he was. I have to admit, his mind wasn't fully developed. Especially if you're going to base it off today's guidelines. They said the brain's not fully developed until you're about 26 years old. So I have to admit, I remember when I was 22 years old, I made bad decisions. I was so emotional. I didn't know how to deal with my thoughts, my emotions. I have to admit, 22 years old. I mean, you know what I did? I went to the club, I had a beer. I said, wow, I'm 21 now, I can drink. But back in Larry Hoover's days, he was probably able to have a drink at the age of 16 years old. Imagine that. I don't know. I gotta Google it. Imagine that. Different time. Maybe 40 years old back then. I don't know. Only thing I do know, 51 years being locked up behind the bars. That's so long. They said being locked up is like being placed inside of a bathroom. small bathroom. Sit there for 51 years. Matter of fact, have a seat on the toilet and sleep there too. Sleep. Matter of fact, you don't have to sleep on the toilet. Go sleep in the tub. The tub is right there next to the toilet. Get up, go back to the toilet. So it's from the toilet to the tub. But it's one of those things right there, though. I mean, where do criminals belong? How should criminals live? How should they be treated? What about the victims? Sometimes individuals think they're more important than the victims. What would the victims say? Will any of these individuals want to put themselves in the victim's place? I don't know. I'm just talking. That's it.